Hi, I'm Katie from De La Soul Yoga, and this is a video tutorial on Revolved Triangle pose. In Sanskrit, the name is Parivrita Trikonasana. And I have Sinead here with me who's going to demonstrate the pose. So you can stand at the top of your mat, Sinead, and then step your left foot back about a leg's distance. Good, and square your hips to the front of your mat. So in this twisting triangle pose, you want to set up heel to heel alignment. You want your back foot turned in a fair bit. So I'm just going to turn these back toes in, Sinead, like so. Good. And we're looking for internal rotation of this back leg so that this left hip comes around to face the front of the mat. And then we're pulling the right hip back, and we're doing that by creating some external rotation in the front leg. So you want to firm your quadricep, push down through the mound of the big toe, and then you can imagine that you've got like two headlights on the front of your hip bones, and you're trying to face both of those headlights directly forward, so this can help you to achieve a square hip position. On an inhale, raise your left arm high, and then as you exhale, stay long as you stretch out over the front leg, and bring your left hand to the outside of your right foot. So Sinead's really flexible, and she has no trouble getting her hand to the outside of her foot. Most people are going to need to keep the hand to the inside of the foot or maybe even up on a block. So maybe just show everybody that for a moment, so something along these lines. Okay, and so if you or your student had your hand to the inside of the foot, you're trying to get your shoulder stacked on top of the wrist, this shoulder stacked on top of this shoulder, and then finally this wrist on this shoulder. And you're doing this by using the obliques, so the abdominal muscles, to revolve the spine, to twist the spine around the front leg. And then once you've achieved a level of comfort and stability here, then you could take it to the next level by bringing the hand to the outside of the foot. So you can go back to your full pose there if you like. Thanks. Okay, so push down hard through the back heel. I'll show an assist here. I'm coming up behind her and taking my left thigh to her ribs. My left hand is on her upper shoulder, her right shoulder. You're all twisted around. Yes, that's your right shoulder. And then right hand to the crease of the hip. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a little bit of a deeper twist as I increase the distance between this hip crease, this right hip crease, and her breastbone. Okay, so I've even lifted up onto the ball of my foot here so that I can just support her rib cage a little bit more. Good. And then you can look down and windmill all the way up. It's kind of like a little dance that you have to do there with your student. And then step to the top of the mat. So just before we wrap up this tutorial, I just want to comment on the position of the pelvis and whether you should allow the pelvis to tip a little bit when you're twisting or whether you want to keep it perfectly square. As we discussed in the training, there's different schools of thought on this. What's worked for me throughout all my years of practicing yoga is sort of the Goldilocks method, so finding a middle ground. So I don't let my pelvis completely shift, and I'll just demo this here for a moment. So I don't let the left side of my pelvis here drop down so much that a tray of drinks would slide off of my lower back. But I also don't keep the hips so square that I'm aggressively twisting the spine away from that really fixed, rigid position. So what I do is I let the left hip drop maybe ½ an inch. And then it just allows a little bit more ease as I come around that front leg. And my experience is that it keeps the SI joints safe and the lower back feeling good after these revolved poses. So that's the tutorial on Revolved Triangle pose. Thank you so much. Namaste.